Hello guys. Just wanted to give an update on EQ Elementalist build that I've done. So there's a couple of things that I want to mention first off with the boots. So I mentioned in my last video that for mapping, you kind of want to use one of a variation of like Aberith's Hooves or maybe Ignite Proliferation or Barracks Respite, right? So I tried it out without the boots and using Ignite Prolif. It doesn't spread nearly as well, and Barracks Respite is still extremely expensive. It's only gotten more expensive since I last made my video, hence, I've stuck with the boots, and it feels really nice to use the boots. As much as I don't like using these boots because I just don't like the stats on them, and the only reason I'm using them is for the Ignite Prolif, but in terms of mapping, it feels amazing. So on top of that, like the fact that you're able to socket in, supports into the boots as well makes it that much more better. So I'd say like that's kind of the thorn on my side right now. I did eventually end up trying some variants of, let me see, using like Ulna Troll's Embrace Axe, like trying to socket in support gems into here to get like the Bone Novas to proliferate, and it doesn't work very well. That's just my conclusion. Like the damage isn't very good, and the ignites that do trigger off from these Bone Novas are pretty mediocre in comparison to the Earthquake ignites. So I wouldn't recommend it. On top of that, like the attack speed of this axe is abysmal. So again, I wouldn't recommend it. So one interesting thing that I did with my skill tree that I changed, as you can see over here, I removed all of these points. And what I ended up doing was I found a talisman on POE trade that, not POE trade, but the trade site that anoints Measured Fury. So I'm still getting the massive damage boost, but I'm able to pull out all these points over here since I wasn't really getting too much from all these points that I was spending on this side besides Measured Fury and the bleeding chance. So I did miss out on some bleeding chance, but as you can see over here, this axe that I picked up has the bleeding chance that I lost out on. So I'm still at 70%, and which is good enough because the ignites, that's really what carries you through the mapping. And for the bosses, you just want like one strong bleed stack to hit, and the bleed itself lasts for about 8 seconds. So 70% is good enough to consistently land a hit within like 3 or 4 hits. You get a bleed, and you can keep the bleed going with your seismic cries in the period that the bleed expires. You're probably going to reapply another strong bleed. So 70% is good enough in my opinion. 100% would be ideal, but it's difficult to get it. You'd have to, there's some rings that you could run like Void Heart, which I don't think is very good. So hence, I decided not to do it. And one of the problems with my rings right now is, as you can see, they both provide me about 100 decks between the two, and this build is super duper deck starved. As you can see on the tree here, there's absolutely no dexterity anywhere. So I'm getting all of my dexterity from the stats of my gear. So I'll just do another demo to show you guys how it works, and we'll see how it is. Let's take a look. And sorry for the loud clickety clacks of my keyboard. It's mechanical. As you can see, like you take a look at the prolifs, it spreads out. Okay, so there wasn't a lot of density here, but you can take a look at this one. It does spread off screen pretty well when they're generally a little bit more grouped together. The damage itself is really good. I think the damage is great. Like, yeah, you see this chain prolif, it just keeps going and going and going. It's really nice for clearing maps because The reason I think Ignite Prolift doesn't work very well with this build is because, I've done Ignite Prolift with Flame Blast, and it feels pretty good. It feels really good. And I think the reason for that is because, for Flame Blast, you can still, like, just tap. You can tap Flame Blast and, like, get a little baby Flame Blast off that prolifts the entire thing. And that little baby Flame Blast is strong enough to it's strong enough to like clear all the trash like this. But the problem with Earthquake is like you can't do like a baby tap Earthquake. You gotta like do the full wind up like you see me doing right here, and it's not really like a spammable feature. Hence, the prolift needs to be a little bit better than just ignite proliferation because you're gonna be like slapping Earthquakes like every couple of steps. So that's I'll just stop here since I actually want to do the sacred grove, but that's pretty much it for my update. So a couple of other things that I did end up trying. I tried to use this belt, the Soul Tether belt, in order to give myself overleach, and Soul Tether generally with the way this combination works is like people will get the super expensive Glorious Vanity Jewel, and I think it needs to have like Akuhana as the sacrifice or something in order to turn the Keystone into Corrupted Blood or something of that nature, and it'll essentially give you like something on the order of like maybe 1,000, maybe like 2k ES, and with combined with this, you get overleach with your ES, so it increases your EHP by quite a lot. The problem with the Glorious Vanity though, it's really expensive, so too bad. I didn't do that, but I did try this with just the overleach, and while it's decent, it's not like noticeably good enough to the point where I'd be like, okay, it's worth running. So what I did instead was I dropped this spell and I decided I'd use it, which is pretty nice. It just like perma onslaught since I always have my fortify up, and it feels nice because the build it just lets me move around the map a little bit faster with 20% move speed. Um, since the boots only give me 15% move speed, feels bad, man, but it works. And for my final ascendancy, I did end up getting Bastion of Elements for the Primal Aegis, and I have to say this is the right choice for sure. I have to like, there's no doubt in my mind now. Like the amount of survivability and tankiness that this gives you is well worth it. Like I can't imagine that the extra damage from Shaper of Storms would make up for the tankiness. Like I really don't feel like anything's killing me now. With that being said, I did die a couple of times uh, due to my own idiocy, not because like the build itself is bad. Like I joined my friend on 3 maps, 3 of which were Fizz Reflect. I didn't even pay attention to the mods, and I just slammed an Earthquake and instantly died. So that's my fault. That's my fault. I'm not gonna blame the build on that. Other cases were just me not having my flasks up and like thinking that I could tank the world and softcore stuff, softcore pub stuff. The build itself, I think right now the DPS is around 2 million. So the thing about looking at this DPS build for POB, it's a little weird because with Fist of War as your support, the higher the attack speed you have, the lower your DPS goes. I know that sounds like really counterintuitive, but that's just the way it is in POB. So the way you actually calculate the DPS is you have to disable Fist of War and then you double the number that you're seeing. So the number that I have right now is about 2 million DPS, Shaper boss DPS, which I think is pretty decent. The build is not still again like not really getting to maxed out, but a couple of ideas that I do have. Like in terms of upgrades, I think I'd probably want to upgrade the axe and probably want to upgrade to steel rings at some point. And this talisman, I got it for 1-2C on trade, just because it like was the cheapest one with decent stats. So I could definitely upgrade this at some point. I do have the currency to do it. I just haven't really bothered. Haven't really felt to do it. I'm kind of still comfortably going through all the content without an issue. I did get rid of the Formless Flame helmet just because I didn't really feel like the bonus was that awesome, and I'd rather just have like resistances and life on my helmet just to give me more flexibility in terms of the other gear that I use. So the gloves themselves, I've actually been using these gloves since like level 60. Like I found these and they're amazing. So I'm just gonna continue yeah, like around level 60, 70. So I'm gonna continue using them. I don't really see a need to change, but if I were to change them, maybe spike gloves or the damage over time gloves. So if you have any questions or anything with the build, please feel free to post a comment or and stuff. Just wanted to give an update and say like the results are so far going pretty good. Um, Again though, the pro lift is still like the boots. It bothers me. The boots bother me, but I can live with it for now. We'll see like if by end game I figure out some better solution. Like I don't really like the boots are working so well that I don't really want to spend the money to get a barracks respite and like mess around with all my resistances and attributes because the main reason I'm not using a barracks respite right now is because of the dexterity issue. If I remove the dexterity from this ring, I need to get the dexterity from some other location, which would probably have to be from either my boots or my belt or something or my gloves, which you know, how I'm gonna do that, it's gonna take a little bit of thought, which I'm a little bit lazy and I don't really feel like doing it right now since I already have a setup that's working. Like, and if I were to change the the ring out, I need like some sort of boot that I really want to put in their slot, which I don't really want to put a particular boot in that slot right now, other than something with like high armor, life, and resistance. So whatever. Anyway, I think I've spoken a little bit long enough, so that's it for the video then. See ya.